Today we're going to make this part using this drawing, and along the way I'll demonstrate why I don't use Blender 2.8 and also why when it comes to dealing with fillets you are going to be better off using a CAD package like Fusion or SolidWorks. I'll also make the Blender file and the STL file for this video available to my Patreon supporters, so if you check that out, you'll see those files there. So if you enjoy long problem-solving videos, stick around. Now, I normally use Blender 2.79 because I prefer the carve Boolean operator in 2.79, which is no longer available in Blender 2.8. So in the past I've had issues with the bmesh modifier, Boolean modifier in Blender 2.8 and 2.79, and I avoid that modifier, that Boolean modifier. But in 2.8, that's the only option you have. So we'll give that a bit of a test and see how it goes and see if it throws any errors. The other thing is fillets in Blender can be a bit tricky. And what I want to try and achieve with this part is to have the fillets on this model or this part be live, so that at any time I can come back and change the dimensions or the iterations, the smoothness of the fillets. So we'll see how that goes as well. So we're going to be using Blender 2.8 and we're going to make this part. Now the first thing I do is to spend about just a few minutes looking over the drawing, making sure I understand everything that's going on here and that I have all the information I need to make this part. And I'm looking at this area here and I can see that it has a 9mm diameter hole going through the whole piece, and then it looks like it's an 18mm diameter inset, and it's inset to a depth of 5.68mm. So that's the way I'm reading that. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's the way I'm reading that. And then it's a radius of 20mm on this curve here. And there's a radius of 6mm here, 3mm here. So all this, I believe that we can keep all this live so that we can change that at any time. I think after looking at the part, I have all the information I need. This is a 7mm diameter hole, 15mm in, 10mm down, 40mm here. Yeah, I think this is all pretty clear and self-explanatory. So let's switch over to Blender 2.8 and I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping to show you how I set up my my interface. This is basically the default view, or should be the default view of Blender 2.8, and I normally work in Layout tab. You can see up here just Layout. That's where I normally work. And the other thing I do is I set my scene units. If it's come over to this tab here, Scene Units, and I set my unit system to metric. My unit scale I set to 0.01, and my length is set to millimeters. And I also come up to this menu here and set my grid scale to 0.01. If you're working in Blender 2.8 and your measurements are behaving a little differently, that's what's happening. And if we look at the default cube that's now in the scene, you see instead of being 2 meters, it's 20mm, which is a better scale for working at for printing 3D parts. Because 2 meters is just too large for a cube for this. All right, so now that I have that basic interface, I'll just turn on my keys shortcut down here to show the keys I'm pressing, my screencast keys. And let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is to delete the cube. Won't need that. Going to delete the camera. Won't need that. And delete the light. So I just got a clean scene. I'm going to switch to my top view, which is 7 on the numeric keypad. And let's look at our drawing. So let's start with this largest piece here, and it's a rectangle 150 millimeters by 40 millimeters and 10 millimeters deep. So we'll create that. Go and Shift A, cube, and it was 150, 40, 10. So X I'm going to make 150, Y 40 millimeters, and the depth will be 10. So that's our first piece. Now I want to make this rise here, and we can see the center of this is 50 millimeters in. And what I'm going to do is actually I'll pop a locator there. So I'll make that locator will be 50 millimeters in and 35 millimeters up. So let's just add a locator or an empty, make it plane axis, switch to wireframe and set it to orthographic. So we're going to move this locator to this corner here, and the quickest way to do that, switch to edit mode, select one of those vertices, and I'll snap a cursor to that, and then I'll grab my locator and I'll snap my locator to the cursor. So now that's at that location there. And I have a bone here, I don't know where that came from. I must have accidentally hit a key. So now that I have my locator here, what I can do, switch to my front view, and it's got to be 50 millimeters in. So I'm going to go G, move along the X axis, 50 millimeters, which should put it there. I'm just counting, there's 10, 20, 30, 40, yep, 50 millimeters, that's correct. And it's got to be 35 millimeters up from the bottom here, where we're already up 10 millimeters, so I've got to move it up 25 millimeters. So G, Z, 25. So now that locator is in the correct position for this hole here, so we can build cylinders and things off that location. So now I want to make this rise here, and I can see it's a 20 millimeter radius, which means that'll be 40 millimeters across here, and this is 50 millimeters in, minus 20 would mean that this starts 30 millimeters in from this edge. So what I can do is to switch to edit mode and put a loop cut in this location. Now that's at 0. Hit enter. Let's see, so that's got to be, this is 150. The center will be 75. So to get that loop cut over to this point here, that's 30 mil in. That should mean that I should have to move it 45 millimeters across to the left. So that'll be GX minus 45. So that should put that in 30 millimeters. So we got 10, 10, 30, yep, so that's 30 millimeters in, so that's correct. So now this is 40 millimeters wide, so what I can do is do another loop cut. I'll slide it up to this cut. Now I'm going to move it back 40 millimeters, so GX 40. And that's given us the location of that rise. So now this piece here is 10 millimeters, 10 millimeters deep. So we'll do the same again. Control R. And I'm going to move it down on the y-axis, GY minus 10. Tab. So that gives us this location piece here. going to switch to my face view, select that face, switch back to the front, and it's got a rise so it's 55 minus 10, so it's 45 millimeters up from this face here. So I'm going to extrude that and type 45 and enter. Now I pressed E to extrude, but I didn't move my mouse, didn't move anything, so that face just stayed exactly where it was, and just typed in 45 on my numeric keyboard, and it just jumped up that distance. So now if I switch to my solid view, we can see that I have the basic structure as I want for this piece here. So let's do the radius on this curve here. And to do that, I'm going to use a Bevel Modifier. I'm going to switch to Edit Mode and select Edges, selected. Add a modifier, Bevel, and we're going to use Weight. And it's got to be a 20 millimeter radius. And for now, I'll make it 12 segments. And edges, come to here, edges data, we'll select that to 1. Now, I didn't select I've selected all the edges. Let's set them to 0. And those two need to be 1. Okay. Now you can see it's not behaving as expected, and that is possibly because I need to apply my scale. Let's see if that's going to fix that. Yeah, I just need to apply my scale because I'd stretched that original cube out to those dimensions. So now we have a 20 millimeter radius on this section here, and at any time I can come back and increase the segments. I'll switch to wireframe to make it smoother or coarser, whatever I want, and that'll remain live. So now I can just close that, minimize that arrow. So that's that part done. Let's do the radius on these corners here, which are, well, it's showing a 3 millimeter radius here, but where's the radius for these corners? I can't see where that's specified. All right, let's just do an arbitrary. If that's 10 millimeters, let's say we'll make that unless it's meant to be 10. Doesn't look like it. We'll make it 7 millimeters. I can't see. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing something, but I can't see where that is. Okay, so we'll make those 7 millimeters for now. Select those edges. For selected, we'll add another modifier, Bevel, Weight. They're going to be 7 millimeters, and we'll give them 12 segments and set that to 1. Whoops. Deselect those. Do that again. Why is it applying to those? It's a separate... okay. So what I'm going to have to do is create some vertex groups to isolate. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll assign these 4 pieces to a vertex group. and we'll call that corner radius. And come back to here, and we'll select, instead of weight, we'll select vertex group and select corner radius, and now those corners are isolated. So we can adjust those individually. We can increase the radius or decrease it. We'll leave it at 7. And same deal with the segments, we can make it smoother or coarser. Alright, so that's done. Now, let's do this cutout that's down here. It looks like it's, I'm saying it looks like it's no dimensions, but the same width as this piece here. So 40 millimeters, which we already have our geometry in place, as you can see here. So all I have to do is to the simplest way to do that, and to ensure that I keep the integrity of the mesh, would be to run a loop cut around here, which would be 3 millimeters high. Let's do that. Going to move it right down to the bottom, and then GZ3. Move it up to there, and I'm simply going to delete these faces and fill that in, fill that in, fill that in. So now we have our 3 millimeter step up into here. Now that's got to have a 6 millimeter radius. That could be tricky for Blender, because it's going to limit that at 3 millimeters in both directions. Alright, I'll come back to that. I'll show you what I mean. If I select this edge and this edge and create a vertex group for that, and we'll call it under radius, just so I know what it is. We'll assign those edges to that vertex group. Come back to our modifiers, add another Bevel Modifier vertex group, and if I make that 6 millimeters and set that to 1, hang on, why is that? Under radius, specifying a vertex group. Let's specify a vertex group for this one here, just to make sure. Assign that to that. Come back to here. This first bevel, we'll make that a vertex group. Have I found a bug in Blender 2.8? Doesn't seem happy. Better not crash because I haven't saved. This is another reason why I prefer Blender 2.79, because I can just keep working away and this doesn't happen. Let's Now, same deal here, a little bit of housekeeping. I'll turn on my screencast keys so you can see what I'm doing. And my units, under the units tab here, I've set the length to metric. We can't specify millimeters, so we have to work a little bit differently in 2.79. And my unit scale I set to 1. And if we come down to our display cursor, I set my grid floor to 16 lines and a scale of 0.01. If you set your interface up like this, then your measurements will behave as mine do. So let's create a cube. It's 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. And I'm going to come back to here. 150, 40, 10. So we'll make that 150 millimeters, 40 millimeters, 10 millimeters. I'm going to save this. Always specify which version that I made this file in, because you can't open Blender 2.8 files up in 2.79, so remember that. You can go the other way, you can take 2.79 files into 2.8, but you can't go backwards. So we'll save that, and we'll create that piece which is 30 millimeters in, 40 millimeters across. Put a loop cut in there. And so I need to move that 45 millimeters from memory. GX minus. Now, because the scale is different, on the x-axis in the minus direction, and the scaling in Blender 2.79 is different, I'll have to type in GX minus 0.045. And that should be then 30 millimeters in from this end. That looks correct. And we'll do another loop cut. We'll move that on the X to, let's turn on my snapping. GX, snap to these vertices. Boom. Now I've got to move it 40 millimeters back this way. So GX 0.04, enter. So that's that piece there. And we'll do another loop cut. Enter. I'm just hitting enter, I'm not moving my mouse, so it's exactly where I want it to be. And we'll go GY, snap it to this vertex, and GY 0.01, that's 10 millimeters back in that direction. So that's that. Now the riser was so 55, yep, minus 10, so 45. So we've got to extrude this, E, enter, GZ 0.045, 45 millimeters, and that's that. I may as well do this cutout here while I'm at it, which is 3 millimeters. GZ, snap to those edges, and we'll go GZ 0.003, 3 millimeters, and I'll delete these faces while I'm here. Fill this, fill this, fill that, okay. Alright, I think I can delete. Let's try removing that, or dissolving those edges, because we don't really need those now. Alright, do a save. Now let's go to our bevel modifiers again. I'll select those two. Add modifier, bevel. This is going to be apply my scale. Alright, we'll use Vertex Groups. And 20mm radius, assign that. Those two edges to that. Come back up here. Vertex group, 20mm radius. And that's going to be 20mm. And we'll turn off clamp overlap. And that should be 1. Now, why has that gone crazy? Oh. That's right. Okay, because it's a vertex group, it's calculating by default. There's 4 vertices. So even though I've just selected those two and those two, it's going to, you can see there the whole thing is selected. So what I need to do is this is tricky, because if I just make it weight, we're fine, which is fine for this piece. But then how do I isolate these other pieces? These will be fine. Save. Because each piece is separated on its own. So we can add those to a vertex group. Assign those. Come back to here. So if I switch back to vertex, now so we're going to have the same problem there. Okay. I may have to put in some holding geometry. Let's try that. So if that's okay, we'll make that 7mm radius. That's going to go crazy. That's right. Let's just turn it off for a minute. And if I put a loop cut in here, it's not going all the way through. Let's just join that up. Make sure that's right. Yep. So if I bring that all the way to this edge, actually we'll snap it to those vertices, yep, GY, then come back GY minus 0.07. Let's have a look at that. Turn that back on. Wrong one. Oh no, that's all right. 7mm. Let's have a look at this. See what's happening here. So select Alright, so we got all that. So we want to remove that from that and remove these from that. Okay, now we've got our 7mm radius, which we can adjust at any time. Okay, so that's all right there. And this is where I chose this part because I knew this was going to be challenging for Blender, all these fillets and curves. So let's just keep working through it. I've got the time if you have. Now this one here, we're going to have to do a similar thing. So if I put, let's try this. Let's do a loop cut here and slide it all the way up. Now I'm going to move that down 20mm. So GZ 0.02 minus, enter. So now let's go back to our Vertex Groups, select the 20mm radius and see what's selected. Alright, so now we need to remove these from that. So it's selected now, so it's just that top part. Let's see if that will work. We may have to put another cut through here. We'll just try this first. And we'll add a new bevel modifier, 20mm, and segment 12, vertex group, 20mm, and switch to edges, set that to 1. Now if I do a loop cut through here, doesn't affect it. Alright. Is that because deselect everything? Alright, I'll remove these two. Okay, that's looking better. Now, come back here. That should be a bevel weight of 1. There we go. So to turn off clamp overlap. Okay, a bit tricky, but we got there. So that's now adjustable, and I can back that off if I want to. Yeah, and that'll max out at 20mm anyway. All right, so we have that shape. We have that segments. All right. Do a save. Okay. Now, so we have that, and we have that. And it's just, all I had to do is just put some holding geometry in there to keep those in place. So that's okay. That I can live with that. That works. Now, let's have a look at Blender 2.8. And it looks like it's died altogether. Oh no, there it is. I think that it's dead. So I'm going to kill Blender 2.8. Something popped up there. Blender, which one's this one here, is it? Let's do a save. Okay, so in case I kill the wrong one. This looks like it's a problem. End that task. Yeah. Alright, so we're just going to work in Blender 2.79, this is the reason why I always work in 2.79. It's just far better and more reliable for this sort of thing. And also the Boolean modifiers work every time for 3D printing. Right, so we've got that done. Now let's take this hole out of here. So that's 35 millimeters up and 50 across. Do a save. It was 35 and 50 across. So let's move our cursor to there. And let's add a locator or an empty locator. Is that I think that might be a Maya. This is from my years of using Maya. Just drop that size down to 1 centimeter. And we're going to move it across 50 and up 35. Right. GX 0.05, enter, and GZ 0.035. Right, so that's going to be the center point of our, I might just move it into the middle of this, so it'll be GY 0.005. So now it's down the center. I'm going to just lock that. So you can just go up here to location and lock that off, or you can come up here to that empty and just tick that off so it can't be selected. But I think we need to have it selected so we can assign snap things to it. So we'll just lock it here. All right, so that can't be moved. That's locked. Good. Now, what I'm going to do is to go Shift S, cursor to selected, and we need to add a 9mm diameter cylinder to cut through here. So I'm going to add mesh cylinder. I want a lot of geometry, so I'm going to make it 128, so it's a nice smooth curve. Radius was 9, wasn't it? So 4.5 millimeters. And the depth we'll leave at 2 centimeters. Enter. Now once I move that, just beware, see these settings here, this will all go away. So you want to set your resolution of your mesh here and now. If you want it a bit finer, you can just take it up to wherever you want, 128 or whatever. I'm just going to leave it at I'll go 128 for now. And you watch, if I move this, it's all gone. I can't edit that mesh now. You could do a workaround where you make that a cube and then do the bevel modifier, and then you can keep that live at any time and to change the radius. Let's try that. All right, let's do that. So we'll do a cube, and it's got to be 9 millimeters. By do Z 9 millimeters, so it'll become a 9mm hole, and I'm going to apply the scale. Let's select the edges. This way this hole will be also adjustable at any time. Yeah, let's see if we can make that work. So we'll add a modifier, bevel, weight. Is that going to mark up we'll see, 1, and we'll make that 4.5 millimeters, and segments will make 12. So that's given us a 9mm diameter hole or tool to cut a hole out with. And we'll make the segments, we'll go 64, so it's nice and smooth. All right, so that's got that done. Now what we need is another one, which is going to be 18.010. Unusual size, but that's okay. 18.010. I think we'll just make it 18 for the sake of this exercise. I'm just going to duplicate this one. Shift D, enter. Why it moved, I don't know. It's okay. we can select that, go Shift S, selection to active. No, that's not going to do it. It might have been because my snapping was on. Let's try that again. Shift D, there we go. That's better. All right, now it's got to be 18, so it'll be 18 millimeters by 18 millimeters. So it's going to be that cutout. You notice that it has its own bevel modifier applied to it now because I duplicated. So it saves a few steps. And I need this to step in 5.68 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring this to this face here, snap it. Yeah, we'll go to vertices. So we'll go G, Y to lock it to that axis and snap it to, no, it doesn't want to do that. Let's see what we'll snap that to. We'll try face. GY. Okay, doesn't want to do that. Let's move the pivot point from center to this location here. Okay, Shift S, we'll move the cursor to selected. And then we'll move the pivot point to the 3D cursor. So now the pivot point of this object is here. So let's try snapping that now. GY. There we go. Come on, snap, snap, snap. Make it vertice. Vertex GY. Doesn't want to behave. Alright, we'll do another. We'll work around that. It's okay. What I'll do is I'll select these vertices and delete those. So now we have this piece here, GY. It has to snap to that location, which is good. And I'm going to let's extrude this face 5.68 millimeters. So turn, and we'll go extrude 0.00568. Alright, so that's extruded that. And it looks like we've lost our edge data. That's alright. Put that back. And this has to be 9 millimeters now because it's an 18 millimeter. Wait. 1. Okay, let's have a look what's happening here. Okay, I know what's happening. What I've got to do is I'm just going to isolate that. I bet you my normals need to be corrected. So I'm going to select all the faces, mesh, normals, recalculate outside. No, doesn't fix the problem. I might have 2 faces there somewhere, I reckon. Let's try that. So we go W, we're going to remove the doubles and go all the way down to 0. Didn't remove any vertices. There's something weird going on here though, I can see that. Something's flipped. To apply my scale. That was it. I hadn't applied my scale. Got to watch that. always apply your scale. Alright, so it's going to be a tool to cut out from the top there. And now that I have my correct inset, I can move this face back out this way. So that'll just cut through there. Alright. We're getting there. Bit of working around. So that's going to cut that out of all the way through, and this is going to cut that out of there. So because these are my cutting tools, what I like to do is just switch the view of how they appear from textured to wire. Doesn't affect anything other than the way they visually display on the screen here. Do a save. So I'm going to do a Boolean operation on this here, and we'll do a difference, and we'll select, we'll do this cut through first, select U, and go carve. And you see that was set to B mesh, it didn't work. Carve works every time. And that's why, another reason why I can't use Blender 2.8. Carve doesn't exist in 2.8. So that's fine. Now, what I can do is actually move this tool, or hide it. I'll just hide it. H to hide it. We'll do another Boolean modifier. I'm just going to copy this one and use this to do the inset. Carve, working beautifully again. So, and this is why using that cube is a good idea, because now I can change the size of it as long as I apply my scale here, or change the bevel width on here at any time, as long as I stay below 9mm. So if I go 7mm, you can see it goes to a square. But if I reduce this down accordingly to 14mm, then I'll show you. I'll go 14mm and 14mm. Now I also then have to apply my scale, and you can see there it's just dropped it down, and that's fine. But that needs to be 18, so we'll just undo that. And we're back there. Now I can hide that. So now we have that part. Do a save. Alright, so we've got the hole. We'll pop these 7mm diameter holes in here, which are 15mm in and 10mm from the top. That's a 7. Alright, so let's pop a couple of empties into those locations. That'll be 10 centimeters, 1 centimeter, sorry, and put that at 0 for now. Duplicate that one, and we'll pin. It's got to go to this edge, this corner here. We'll put one there. Cursor over there. And we'll go selection to cursor. Do the same over here. Cursor to selected, selection to cursor. So we have those 2 points there. Now I'm going to move this down 10mm, GY minus 0.01. Do the same for this one, GY minus 0.01. And it's got to come in 15, so GX 0.015, and GX 0.015 minus. Alright, so they're in their correct locations. So once that's selected, if I create a cylinder, it'll just, if I have the cursor snap to that, so if I go cursor to selected, it'll place the cylinder in the exact correct position. So it's got to be a 7mm diameter cylinder. Well, let's do a cube again so we can change it any time. Mesh cube. And we'll make it 7mm by 7mm. It can stay at 2 centimeters. I'm just going to move it up 5mm. GZ point, put in the middle there. And let's do our, first of all, let's apply the scale. Has to be done in object mode. Select our edges. Come over to bevel and we'll make this 3.5mm for the radius. It can be 12 segments for now. And we've got that issue where it's also doing all, yeah, okay, because it's a cube. So actually what I can do is try and just delete this face here and this face here, which will give us our cylinder, and just see if that will cut. Looks like I might have to fix my normals, mesh, normals, recalculate outside. Alright, let's try that. Go 18. Might not work. We'll try it, but I don't think it's going to work. Let's do another Boolean, copy that one. Difference. And that. Select. That did work by the looks. Let's just switch that to wire. Oh, looks like that's worked. Alright, that's another workaround. So I'll set that to, we'll go 64, so it's a nice smooth cutout there. And we'll hide that one. Actually, we'll undo that because I'll need to duplicate that one for over here. Okay, so let's duplicate that. Shift D. Let's snap our cursor to this. And let's snap that to the cursor. And we need to move that up 5mm just to put in the center. Going to do a save. And what's this one here is cube 04. Let's copy that. Cube 04. Alrighty. We can hide those now. Actually, we might just lock those while we're at it. Forgot to do that before. And save. Okay, so now we're at this point here where the part is basically made except for this fillet that goes around here. Just bump it up a little bit. Yeah, this fillet that goes around here. So let's try and do that. Next challenge. So that is a 3mm fillet. So keep in mind everything at this point is editable. We can change the size of those holes. We can change the levels of iterations of the curve on those. Same for these outer radiuses. So that's pretty good. If you want to make some tweaks or changes to the part, we can do that. We can shift these holes across. That's all easy. So let's do another save just to make sure. Let's now try and add these 3mm bevels. What do you call them? Fillets. And I know this is going to be tricky. I'll be surprised if this works really easily. I'll start here. I'll assign those to a new vertex group. 3mm fillet 1. Assign. Let's have a look what's happening vertex wise. I think that looks alright. Come back here. Create a new bevel modifier. This is going to be 3mm. Vertex group. 3mm fillet 1. Radius 1. And sort of happening. This is why I was dreading this, because I just know Blender doesn't like doing this sort of thing. So that's fine. Here, there's your 3mm. That's working fine. That's working fine. Here, it's fritzing out a little bit for some reason. And I wonder if... I'm just checking to see if I've got more than one vertex in that location. No. Okay, let's try removing these ones from that fillet. Better. No, not really, because now this is all mucked up. Let's see what we've got. That one's not assigned. There we go, that's better. Let's continue up over here. Alright, maybe we need to bump this up the order. Let's move this up. We'll call this Bevel 3mm fillet 01. So we know what we're looking at. Let's bump it up the order and see what happens. So if we can get this to happen before the other bevels. No, it doesn't like that. Let's come down 1, 2. Alright, I think what's going on here is this bevel here. What's this one? Oh, what's this one? That's the radius. Let's take him down. We'll call this bevel 7mm radius. Bevel 20mm radius. Just so I know what I'm looking at. This one there's a billions. Alright, there are billions. Okay. I knew this was going to be tricky. Just a bit, Blender just does not like doing this sort of thing. There's also one here as well. Let's try and adding those in. Do that vertex group. Yeah, okay, let's try turning off that bevel. Okay, if we turn off that 20mm radius, still getting an issue. What happens if I join that? No, doesn't improve. What happens if I join that? Fixes part, then mucks up something else. What happens if I do a loop cut through here? Join this, and then take that and join it to there. Does not like it. All right, so what happens if I turn off the 7mm radius, turn back on the 20? Nope. What if I make this a... Yeah, okay. So the problem's coming from overlaps. What if I put a loop cut through here, move it to the end, move that back 0.01, no. Join those, join that. Let's turn on the 7mm, turn that off. We've got an issue here. Doesn't like. Alright, let's just see what's in that vertex group. 7mm, select. Alright, so these need to go. Remove those. Remove those. So let's fix that. Okay, let's go back. So that's all looking fine at that point. Turn on our 3mm fillet. This is where you can see the limitations of Blender as compared to a CAD package. A CAD package would handle these fillets, no problems at all. But it's just the way the Blender polygon engine works. It creates these overlaps. And I think there's also a couple of CAD packages that have the same issue actually. Got a feeling FreeCAD may suffer from the same, I may be wrong, but it may suffer from the same problem because its engine works similar to the way Blender's does, but a program like Fusion works differently, and it doesn't, or SolidWorks don't have these issues. So you can make the part, no problems, and it's all dimensionally correct and all accurate, you just can't do the finishing of these nice fillets. As you can see here, it's just not going to work, I don't think. Let's see if I can select this fillet and see what's going on. Now, it can be done if I manually go in and edit the mesh and build it. That's not a problem. I can get it looking exactly the same. I'm just trying to come up with a way that you can work as you would in a CAD package, where you keep everything live and adjustable. Like if I had to build this shape as it is here, and I wasn't worried about keeping things live, then that's not an issue. I can fix that. But actually, no, radius 6. That's right. That's half of. No, 6 is 12. No, okay. Just going back to that 6mm radius under here. I don't know how that's going to work because okay, I think I'll do that for Boolean. Yeah, I can work that out. I can fix that. That's all right. And we'll do that in a tick. But this fillet, at this stage, I'm saying it can't be done. Just had an idea. What if I try... Select. Yeah, okay. So the fact that I can't isolate those edges is causing issues there, and it's creating faces in that vertex group. If I remove, actually let's try this. If I remove these, from that vertex group, so we just have that. Sign that. So it's continuous up and around there. Do a save on that. Let's go back. Why isn't it showing now? So I turn that off. Going to turn down these segments just to increase my speed, and then it'd be a case of when you're going to output as an STL file, just turn back the resolution back up. But for now, I'll make them 6, and I'll make these 12. Whoa, okay, that's interesting. Make these 12. So does that mean if I make this 256, I wonder if I got scaling's right. Yeah, I'm getting some weird results there. Turn off lip slide. Move it down one. What happens? Alright, let's go back to here. Let's remove these. Actually, let's do this differently. Let's remove those from this vertex group, select that. So now all we have is just that edge there. Surely that should behave nicely. Yep. No. What's going on here? This 7mm, what if I make that 6.99 millimeters? There we go. .98. Still looks like there's a little glitch there, but that's all right. It's looking better. All right, so now what if we then create another? Where's my booleans gone? Oh, they're there. Okay. All right, so that's looking better. And what if we create on this edge here another vertex group, 3mm fillet, 0.2, assign that, come back to here, and I'm going to copy this and you are there. So that's got that fillet in there. Alright. Now we'll just sneak up on this a little bit by little bit. If I add this edge to that group, what happens? It says me no likey. What if I put a cut through here? And come back here. No, that ain't gonna work. There's got to be a way of doing this. I'll remove this edge. But add that edge. So we've got that. What if I take these edges and assign them? No, Fritz is out. Okay, I'm going to start It's got to be a way of doing this. I'm going to start just unhide everything and just going to duplicate that, move that over here. Actually, we'll move that to another layer. Select everything, duplicate, enter, move that to layer 2. So we should have a copy of everything there. Good. Now, I'm going to start applying things and see if we can get this fillet on. I'm going to do it if it kills me. So, going to move the 20mm radius up first. I'm going to apply that. Actually, just going to make sure there's enough segments on there. Yep, that's smooth enough. And apply that. I'm going to apply the 7mm radiuses. Let's turn off the 3mm so I can see what I'm working with. Alright, so we'll apply the 7mm radiuses, segments. Let's bump them up to 64. Yeah, it's nice and smooth. Apply that. We'll apply these booleans. Which is this one. That's the whole straight through. Let's apply. Sorry, so let's move him up first. We'll apply that one first. And then we'll apply this one. So that means we can, let's move these Boolean tools to layer 3. Whoops, what's happened there? Why is that not Boolean? Turn it back on. Let's apply these two. What's the hole looking like? $64, that'll do. Apply that. Apply that. So now we can move those to layer 3. So now all that we have on here are our 3mm fillets. And boy, are they going crazy. Right, let's delete that, delete that. Now if I was to select, actually, now that I can see this mesh like this, I think we need to join those up, although, yeah, that's right. So we'll join those across there. We'll join these under here. I'm going to merge that to there. Just trying to clean up this mesh as much as possible. I'm going to snap that so it's in line with this vertex here. GY, you can go there. Same here. GY. Alright. That, I'm happy with that, that's alright. Do the same with these guys. We'll join that over to here. Oops. We've got two vertices very close to each other. It could be causing us problems. No, do the other way, actually. Oh no. No, I'll do the other way. I'll take this vertex. That looks right. Yeah. Do that again. That could be causing a problem. Let's do this one. Snap it to there. Okay. Now I'm going to look to see if I've got two vertices very close to each other again here. Yeah. I wonder if that was causing the issue before. Looks clean. Just got an extra one there. I can get rid of that. That looks clean. Ooh. Some funny stuff going on here. Let's get rid of that. Clean that up. So let's clean that up. So check in these holes as well. clean. Check this one. So it's clean. Now let's try and just do a bevel. And why did it do that? Get to there and stop. Sometimes I can indicate that two vertices aren't joined, but that doesn't seem to be the case there. This way. Just going to do a quick bevel, see what happens. So that's much better, but we've still got an issue here and here. Alright, let's undo that. See if we can work out what's going on. I can see two vertices there. Three vertices at that point. Let's merge all those. It's the same deal on this side. Yeah. Let's see what happens now. Okay, good, let's fix that. Here, we've got the same situation. Yeah. Two vertices, we'll merge those. Alright. Let's do those. Alright, let's try now. Okay, good. So that's working. Great. Okay, that's working. So now, technically I should be able to put a fillet on there, but let's undo that. Let's get them all working and see if we can make this work. Let's grab those. Yeah, that seems to be working. Okay. So this one here. That seems to be working as well. All right, so let's try and use our bevel so we can specify exactly 3 millimeters. We'll do it in 3 parts again. Like an issue there, better fix that first. I haven't joined these ones over here, better do this as well. Okay. Just to keep things tidy. Let's do that. Okay. Did I miss this one as well? Still bugging me why that does that. Why it steps one in there. There must be something going on here somewhere. Just checking to see if there's any vertices that aren't connected, but they all seem to be connected, so I don't know why it's doing that. It bugs me because it's a bit of a warning sign that there's something wrong there. Alright, let's assign those to a vertex group. Let's get rid of all these. Just clean it out, do a new one. Might as well make all 3 vertex groups I'm going to need while we're at it. Alright, so I'll assign that to that, just to make sure. Yep. Now we'll go to our bevel modifier. It's going to be 3 millimeters, and it's going to be vertex group number 1. Segment 12. Okay, that's looking much healthier. Alright, now what happens if I assign just these to this vertex group? Crazy. Alright, we'll do another vertex group for that. And we'll copy this. And we'll make this one vertex group number 2. And we have some craziness going on there. But let's push through. Turn that one off. Let's assign these to vertex group 1. So that's looking good. Now let's assign, what if we do this? Assign this to vertex group 3. We'll make this 3. Why did nothing happen? Okay, let's remove that from there. Wasn't turned on, that's why nothing happened. Let's assign that to there, assign that. We're so close. We are so close. All we need is this fillet around here. Yeah, we'll make this. Make this number 2. Let's assign that. And copy this. And we'll make this number 2. Alright. If we add that to number 2. So close. We are almost there. Just got to work out what's going on here. And it looks like it's an overlap issue. What if up the segments, what happens? Not much. And 12, 6. Let's make them all 6 for now and see what happens. Alright, so there's an issue here with the overlap. So 2, there we go, smoothing up. I think we got it. I think we've got it. So let's make this go 36. Nice and smooth. 36 and 36. We've got a glitch here and here. So close. What if we back these off to 2.8 millimeters? Just for a moment to see what happens. Alright, let's go back to 3. And let's just try changing the order. No, that's no good. Let's move up. Okay, so this is 01, this one's 02, this one's 03. Let's move 03 up. Fixes that part, mucks this up, makes a mess of both. And it's not going to let me win. Not going to let me win. Alright, let's just leave it like that for a moment, because I still need to fix up this 6mm radius in here. Let's turn these off and have a look at that. So if I just take these, that's what I'll do. Going to just going to put a quick radius on that and do it that way. Okay, so if I go if I move that to here and come back 6mm, GX minus 0.006. I'll do another loop cut here. Match that to there. And do the same here. Alright. Move this edge to here. Snap it. And then move it 6mm, GX.6. So I've got two holding lines. Now if I select those, and then roll in my curve, that should satisfy. I won't go over, I'll just come up to it. That should satisfy that drawing request there. So 3mm, 6mm, so that's right, that's done. Now I'm just going to clean up my mesh. Actually, I might put a bit more geometry in there. Just make sure we got a nice curve in there. And I'll just check. Make sure we haven't got any vertices. Need to be joined, which we have. It'll be the same on this side. All right. Okay, so that's done. Now, let's turn our fillets back on. So that's there. Something weird. It's got to fix, that fixes that issue. If that doesn't fix that issue, what happened there? Had the other vertices selected. So that's right. Let's turn this one on. Wouldn't that be funny if it fixed it? No, it didn't. So that's looking good. Okay, let's see if we can. That's nice in here. Let's see if we can work on this part here and fix this. I reckon that if I turn these off for a minute. Yeah, let's merge that up to there. Does that mark anything? That fixes that error that was showing there. Okay, I've got a feeling that if I ran a cutout from here to here, then we may fix that issue that's in there. Let's try that. Let's just subdivide that to create a vertex to join that to there. Now what happens if I turn this on? That hasn't fixed that issue. What if I put a cut here? No, makes it worse. Makes it worse. It's this vertex right here, which is bevel 2. Alright, let's go back to our Vertex Groups. What if I remove those two from there? No, it's not the problem. What if I remove that one? What if I remove that one? It's an overlap issue here. Because if I clamp the overlap, we're so close. What if I bevel that vertex? B, Shift B, Control Shift B. thought it was Control Shift B. Let's just turn these down again. What I'm actually doing there is, I'll show you, is beveling that vertex, but I thought that might be a little trick to work around it. You can see what's happening. These fillets are overlapping, which is causing the error, causing the problem. I could go in and manually fix it, but I don't want to have to do that. If I can avoid that, that would be good. What? I just moved that up one level, and now it's right. Is that? I must have. Something must have happened when I. Well, let's just up the segments and see. 36. Oh no, it's back again. Yeah. So we'll go 18. Alright, so 18. So it's a level of iterations which is causing the issue by the looks. See how far we can push it. 22. That changed the profile. Why did that change the profile? Hmm. 24 there, 24 there, go 36, no, can we go 28, yeah, can we go 32, no, can we go 30, yeah, 31, no. Okay, so we can have 30 segments there. We can have 36 there. And this one, when we change that, it seems to change the profile of the fillet. Nope. 20. All right, well, I think I might call it quits there because I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. And the test will be when I export it to an STL. So let's go File, Export, STL, and selection only, scale 1000, scene units, and apply modifiers. And we'll export the STL, load Cura, and let's import that STL. And that looks all good. It's just showing us where we'd need to add support. Let's slice it. And check the preview. It's looking good. Okay, it would print nicely. So you can see, I think, what have we achieved here? Well, I think we've demonstrated that if you're making these parts daily and doing this for a living, you're going to be much better off using a CAD package like Fusion or SolidWorks to create this sort of geometry. But we've also established that if you don't know how to use Fusion or don't know how to use SolidWorks, you can achieve the same result. This part will be as dimensionally accurate as anything that's going to come out of SolidWorks or Fusion, and will print exactly the same. It's just that in Blender you're going to have to just do some workarounds to achieve the same result. So in this case here, the fillets, I knew the fillets were going to be a problem because Blender just does not like the way the polygon engine set up. It can't handle when things cross over or overlap. And I know from discussions I've had with other people that Fusion and SolidWorks work in a different way, and that you just don't get that issue, which it makes it much easier. So it's a limitation of Blender. So if you've got stuff that requires fillets, then and you know how to use Fusion or SolidWorks, then definitely I would be using a package like that. But in my case, I don't know how to use those programs, and parts like this that I need to make for myself, I can still do much quicker and easier in Blender, because a lot of times I don't require this type of fillet. But I chose this drawing because I knew it would be a challenge, and I thought it would be a good exercise to see if we can work through and actually get a result out which is identical to the specifications and the drawing, and still use Blender. All right, well, I think that's enough for this exercise. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching and your perseverance. I hope you found it useful. Like, doing these exercises are great for myself. I always find them useful, and learning how to solve problems like this, I find it fun. If you'd like to see more of these types of videos, definitely let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day, and I'll catch you later.